Welcome back, dear listener. Today, we open the door to a fascinating journey into the mind. Not the poetic mind, not the philosophical mind, but the biological mind, the brain as it truly works behind the scenes. Our episode explores Your Brain at Work by David Rock, a book that reveals why we think the way we do, why we get overwhelmed, why our focus slips away, and how we can dramatically improve our daily performance simply by understanding the brain's natural mechanisms. Imagine stepping behind the curtain of your own thoughts and finally seeing how attention, emotion, motivation, and decision-making are orchestrated. That is what David Rock offers, a backstage pass to the theater of the mind. So settle in, allow your breathing to slow, and let us begin this journey inward. David Rock begins Your Brain at Work like a scene from a play. He introduces two characters, a busy professional named Emily and her husband Paul, who struggle through the chaos of modern life. Their days are filled with constant distractions, forgotten priorities, emotional reactions, and never-ending demands. Through their experiences, Rock pulls the curtain back on what truly happens inside the brain when we attempt to work, solve problems, manage emotions, or simply survive the day. And as the narrative unfolds, the reader gradually realizes that the brain, though powerful, is far more limited and more easily overwhelmed than we like to believe. Rock explains that the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making, reasoning, problem-solving, and self-control, is like a small stage with room for only a few actors at a time. Despite our illusions of multitasking, the brain can truly focus on only one complex task at once. When Emily tries to answer emails, think about a project, check her phone, and keep track of her meetings all at the same time, Rock illustrates how her prefrontal cortex becomes overloaded, like too many actors trying to squeeze onto a narrow stage until the performance collapses. He provides real-life examples of people who believed they were effective multitaskers, but when observed carefully, their productivity dropped, mistakes increased, and stress levels rose dramatically. From here, Rock introduces the idea that attention is one of the brain's most precious resources. He describes how easily it becomes hijacked by notifications, worries, memories, or even internal chatter. Emily, for example, starts her morning intending to focus on a key project, yet finds herself drifting into less important tasks because her brain seeks immediate relief from effort. Rock uses scientific findings to show that the brain naturally avoids energy-intensive work because the prefrontal cortex consumes glucose rapidly. This means that important, complex tasks should be done when the brain is fresh, usually early in the day, while routine or mechanical tasks can be left for later. Rock also explores the neuroscience of goal setting. He explains that vague goals create cognitive confusion, while clear, specific goals act like spotlights on the mental stage. He illustrates this through Paul's workday. When Paul defines exactly what he wants to accomplish, his focus sharpens, his decisions accelerate, and his stress diminishes. But when goals remain broad or ambiguous, like work on project or finish report, the brain becomes uncertain, wastes energy, and procrastinates. Throughout the narrative, Rock dives into the emotional systems of the brain. He introduces the SCARF model, a framework describing the 5 domains that trigger social threat or reward: status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. He shows how modern workplaces activate primal threat responses through unclear expectations, micromanagement, exclusion, or unfair treatment. Emily, for instance, becomes stressed when her manager questions her decisions, not because the issue is serious, but because her brain interprets it as a threat to her status. Rock demonstrates how leaders and coworkers can dramatically improve collaboration simply by understanding these deep psychological triggers and creating a sense of safety. As the story continues, Rock focuses on the brain's tendency to fall into unproductive emotional spirals. He uses Emily's frustration at traffic, Paul's irritation after a meeting, and countless daily annoyances to illustrate how quickly emotional reactions take over. He explains that the amygdala, the brain's threat detector, reacts far faster than conscious thought, flooding the mind with emotion before logic can intervene. The key, Rock suggests, is labeling, simply identifying the emotion with words like, "I'm feeling stressed," or "this makes me anxious." Studies show that labeling activates the prefrontal cortex and calms the emotional center, bringing clarity back to the mental stage. Rock provides examples of people who transformed tense conversations and stressful situations simply by pausing to name what they felt. He further explores the neuroscience of insight, those sudden aha moments that arrive when we least expect them. Rock describes insight as a delicate process requiring quiet, uninterrupted mental space. When Emily steps away from her stressful work environment and takes a walk, her mind relaxes, shifting activity from the prefrontal cortex to more distant neural networks. This creates conditions for creative connections to emerge. Rock includes stories of professionals who solved their hardest problems only after stepping back, resting, or shifting to a low-pressure activity. He shows that insight cannot be forced. It grows in silence, not in noise. Another deep theme in the book is the scarcity of mental energy. Rock explains that the brain's fuel is limited and must be managed strategically. Each decision, each act of self-control, each conflict, and each distraction draws down the brain's reserves. This is why people make poor decisions in the afternoon, why arguments erupt at the end of long days, and why productivity plummets when stress is high. Rock illustrates how Emily often tries to power through her workday, only to make mistakes, react emotionally, and lose motivation because she ignores her brain's natural limitations. He emphasizes the importance of mental recovery. Just as a muscle fatigues with overuse, the brain needs rest, short breaks, moments of stillness, and periods of low stimulation. Paul, who forces himself to work non-stop, finds his creativity drying up, while Emily, who builds in short breaks, maintains clarity throughout her day. Rock uses neuroscience research to show that brief moments of mindfulness, breathing, or quiet reflection reset the brain's networks, improving performance far more effectively than pushing harder. He also explores social interaction and collaboration, explaining how the brain misinterprets even small social signals as threats. A colleague's tone, a vague email, or a poorly structured meeting can trigger defensive thinking and reduce cooperation. He describes how managers who provide clarity, respect autonomy, and create fairness unlock higher engagement and reduce conflict. He tells stories of teams transformed when leaders began to consider how their words and actions affected the brain's reward and threat systems. As the narrative reaches its final chapters, Rock moves from individual performance to collective intelligence. He explains how groups solve problems best when members feel psychologically safe, when attention is managed effectively, and when emotional triggers are minimized. He shows that high-performing teams are not defined by talent alone, but by their ability to create environments where the brain's best capabilities, creativity, empathy, and insight can flourish. By the end of the journey, Emily and Paul have not become superheroes. They have simply learned how their brains truly function. They prioritize tasks intelligently, manage attention deliberately, navigate emotions gracefully, and collaborate with a deeper understanding of human behavior. The transformation is not dramatic, but it is profound. They reclaim control of their minds and their lives by honoring the biological truths that govern the brain.
In the end, Rock leaves the reader with a powerful realization. The brain is a remarkable organ with extraordinary capabilities, but only when we understand its limitations, manage its energy, and treat it with the respect it deserves. Productivity is not about working harder, it's about working with the brain, not against it. And so, dear listener, we come to the end of today's episode. A quiet step beyond the noise of everyday life and deep into the workings of the mind. David Rock reminds us that our brains are not failing us. They are simply doing what they were designed to do. When we learn to focus with intention, protect our mental energy, manage our emotions, and create environments that support our biological needs, we unlock levels of clarity, creativity, and calm we never imagined possible. If this journey into the inner theater of the brain inspired you, consider sharing this episode with someone who might need it. And remember, your greatest tool is always with you. Not your laptop, not your calendar, but your mind. Until we meet again in the next episode, stay aware, stay focused, and treat your brain with care.